Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cheecast here at ECWM Studios in Philadelphia. I'm your host, Marcus Julian Carbo with Tai Chi Fit International, streaming out coast to coast and around the globe just to say hi to all of you good people right where you are. As we go into 2.5 months of our little COVID quarantine. Although, what I am starting to hear now is we're going to start coming out of this whole thing. Now, I'm going to do a sound check first. And there we go. Sound check is good. So, wherever you're at, wherever you're doing, if you have a link to the TCast, come in and check us out here on YouTube. Tai Chi with Veterans, a Tai Chi Fit production. And come check us out because I'm lonely. And I've been all by myself, me and my cat, for like the last month. And it's been terrible. I'm just saying, like, a cat requires a lot of attention. I don't have one of those like cats that don't care. Like this cat is like a dog, and I love him for it. He's a broken cat, but he's a great pet. He is a great pet. All right, so I'm going to get our message all out to the rest of the world here. So bear with me for just one moment, but one just got done amazing Tai Chi Fit class with our vets here, actually right around the across the country today. As far south that I know is DC, and as far north as Albany. So we've got we are moving and grooving, which is pretty cool. So join the Cheecast hashtag Cheecast. Hashtag Cheecast. Live. Whoa, don't do that. I want you to join me live, not separate my hashtag. There we go. And now we'll copy that and we'll plaster this all over the interwebs and we'll declare ourselves a success. So it is Friday before the first post unofficial, I guess, summer of weekend something. I don't know. I've been it's well, I think this is what it is. This is where we really have to get into like the streaming services at this point. And I know a lot of you have already done that, but I have managed to keep myself busy up until this point. Although one of the things that has come out of the Gcast is the fact that I am writing a lot. Now, mind you, part of this is, as I've shared before, I'm kind of by myself right now at the house. Everybody is either with family or or doing the work thing. So it has literally just been me and the cat for the last little bit, and yeah, I've been writing a lot. I've definitely been hanging out with a lot of friends online. That much I have been doing. That has become the norm for everybody, but it's something to keep in mind, right? Like this too shall pass. And when it does, you want to be prepared, because there are going to be changes in the world, obviously, because the quarantine has shown us things one way or another, and you also have to get back to life, right? So it's a weird thing, but honestly, it's just like anything else. The life changes, right? Life is constantly changing, and because of that, we have to. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm still catching my breath from class. So life is continually changing. So the idea that today, when the quarantine is over, you're going to have a new world to step into that is still attached to the old world. This honestly is no different than going to sleep at night. Every day you walk in to tomorrow with still attached to today, but in the unknown of today's today, right? So it's just like in Tai Chi when we're in our class. And I know I did this today in class, which was fun. Took 3 moves, mixed them all together, threw them out in sequential orders, but not always in the same sequential order. 1, because I want my students to trust me. And 2, the only reason you're going to be able to do that is just to relax and accept whatever is coming. And one of the ways that I keep myself disciplined in doing that is I don't think what I'm about to do until I'm about to do it. So just enough time to let the class know, to let you know what we're about to do is when I come up with the idea. But that internal monologue, that internal clock is always there. Now, if that attracts you, that idea of multitasking and guiding people through, you can head over to taijifit.net. Sign up for one of our tiered subscription instructor programs where you can get as much or as little support as you need to get the ball rolling on your Tai Chi Fit classes. Or head over to our subscription program, all at taijifit.net, and join the Flow subscription where, well, you get to hang out with the big guy, David Dorian Ross, and have access to the entire library and webinars and online trainings. And he does, we've got flow shows going up there and all sorts of stuff. And eventually, a lot of these chi casts and all that will be available to you through the Flow subscription, the full chi casts, not just the live ones, the actual produced ones that we do, in post production. In post production, that's important. I was messing around with that today as we're getting ready for a big launch starting next week. So stay tuned to the ChiCast next week for information on how you can do and change, how you can do something for yourself and change the world around you with very little effort. Very Tai Chi. 1,000 pounds, 4 ounces. That's the way we do it here at Tai Chi Fit. So, yes, it is Friday. It's in the Northeast, and I got to tell you, it's starting to get hot, right? The humidity. So it's not hot yet, but the humidity is there. While I was setting up the stage for the class, I was dripping sweat, and I was fresh out of the shower, and that's never a good feeling. I hate that feeling, right? You just got in the shower, you just got all fresh and clean, and then you step out and you start sweating again. And and you can tell the difference between sweat and like moisture that you just didn't towel off. And man, oh man, oh man, man, oh man, oh man. As I was setting up, I've got my towel out. I'm like wiping off my head, and I'm like, wow, I didn't dry off very well. But then I can feel it like working through my shirt and all that. So during the class, I turned the AC on for the first piece of class, and for the first piece of our guest today, we've got none other than Christine Bay. How are you, Christine?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you actually way too well. I'm going to turn my amplifier down.
Okay. Hello.
It's like the voice of God here in Philadelphia. From Indianapolis, yes, out there in the good old Midwest. Indianapolis is Midwest, right?
Yeah, I'll call it that for sure.
Does Indianapolis live in that weird spot where there's no accent, or do you guys have that sort of Midwestern accent going on there?
I don't know. You tell me.
That's what I'm trying to feel.
It doesn't sound like an accent to me, but that's, I guess, the whole point, right?
That's always one of those weird things, right? Like you're not sure if you have an accent until someone tells you you have an accent, and I don't really hear an accent. I'll keep a sharp ear out for one. I worked very hard to get rid of my Philly accent, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I remember I was having a conversation with, where was I? I think I was in South Philly. I was on South Street, and I met a group of German nationals who I ever heard speaking German, and I learned German while I was living in Germany. And it was the first time they told me, "Oh my God, I love your American accent." Now here I'm thinking I'm speaking like Van Gogh, and really no, I was just like some clown from the States speaking bad German. So with that in mind, thank you for joining us here at the ChiCast today, Christine, as one of our top instructors in our program. You teach Saturday mornings, yes?
Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here from my basement,
From the basement. It's your
my chi
studio.
cave,
Your chi cave. I like it. I'll have to get you like a little chi mask or something. Get
and
you
a
a
cape.
cape. I love it. Let's see if we can expense a chi mobile for you, because that's when we've made
All right.
real progress.
All right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Christine.
Wow, I don't know where to begin. Well, I came to Tai Chi later in life, we'll say.
Okay.
I took actually a Qigong, they called it Tai Chi, but it was actually a Qigong class in college in a stress management class. And during that class, I remember a lady came in and did a demo of what I think was probably Yang 24 forms.
Okay.
And she was probably about the age I am now, but I thought she was old at the time. And, uh, and I just thought, wow, that's awesome. And it made quite an impression on me. But after the class ended, I just, life got in the way. I never had a chance to pursue it for decades. But I knew in the back of my head, she had planted that seed, and I was like, someday I'm going to find. And I, casually kept an eye out for classes wherever I was. I've been back and forth from Cincinnati to Chicago to Indianapolis, always looking for classes and just never either finding one that was at a time I could, you know, take the class, or usually what it is with Tai Chi, you either have time and no money, or no time and all the money, and it's like you got to get both, all those things lined up in order to get yourself in a class and get yourself going. And so decades went by. I ended up, I ended up doing all sorts of crazy things. I've had a couple of careers since then. And then finally, when I'm an interior designer currently, and finally when I was able to start my own business, I was able to schedule myself around my work, around my Tai Chi. So I found a class that was available during the daytime and made that a priority, and have never looked back. It changed my life. And that was about 8 years ago when I started. So I'm considered a beginner, right, in the world of Tai Chi. When you're less than 10 years in, I'm told you're a beginner. So
You're doing me both.
yeah.
I just hit my 10-year mark this year, so I feel your pain.
Congratulations. Great. Now you're allowed to go outside the dojo and actually fight somebody.
Oh, is that how that works?
That's what I'm told. Until then, you got to keep it under wraps.
Do I get the fancy hat though? Because I love the fancy hat and the robes. I have to have the robes. Actually,
Yeah, so I started off with a really gentle Tai Chi for Health type, class. It was uh, as gentle and as easy as it was. It was all I could do to get through 1 hour of that class. I was in such
Sure.
bad health physically.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew it was it was going to help me because I'd experienced that little bit of something back when I was had it in college. And so I was like, I know if I can do this, it'll be one of the things I can do, because I've tried pretty much everything, every other exercise that was out there. I tried aerobics classes, and I've been kicked off of every athletic team or sports field or dance class I've ever tried. I have no abilities with respect to, fitness and health and anything. So it was kind of like a last ditch effort to get myself together. I've hurt myself doing yoga. I've hurt myself doing Pilates. It's like I'm a mess. I've always been a klutz. So I thought, all right, maybe this is something I can do safely and not create any issues. And so what I found was, if I could get myself to a class once or twice a week, I would always feel better. It didn't matter if I had a migraine headache, or all my joints were hurting, or whatever else was going on in my life, stressed out of my mind. I knew if I could get myself to that class, I was going to feel better. And it works. It works. It still works. So that's why I'm here. The more I do, the better I feel.
Absolutely.
And I never intended this to become a teacher. This is just I mean, if you would have told me 10 years ago, I'd be right here, right now, talking to you about teaching Tai, I would have been like, no, not possible. Absolutely not.
Was not
It's
on the
it's
radar.
amazing the way life takes you. And it's finally when I stepped back and put my health as a priority and made some time for that and got off that treadmill or that fast track. I mean, I've spent the first 50 years of my life on super duper high speed, tense driving, pushing, forcing, trying to drive, drive your life. And it's like, that'll wear you out.
Oh yeah.
And I just had to, the wheels were falling off, and I'm like, I got to do something to get things back on track. And so once I slowed down, took a little breath, gave my self time to heal and spend time on things like Tai Chi and Qigong, then all of a sudden, all these other things, all these other opportunities, and all these other avenues opened themselves up to me. So it's an interesting journey.
Interesting journey indeed. Speak about the beginnings of your journey. You talked about there was a something that you felt both when you tried it in college and again when you rediscovered Tai Chi. What was that something? If you could describe it in 10 words or less. No.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I'll describe it as chi, but
Okay.
that's one word. But, that's a
That's
very
it.
amorphous term. People are like, what is it? I don't understand, whatever. Um, but what, again, what I never was able to do, I've always been a little hyper, or a little tense, or a little, I don't know what you want to call it. And I could never find a place or a way to just sit and meditate.
Mm, mm-hmm.
I couldn't turn off the wheels. My body is uncomfortable if it holds if it's just to sit in one
Yeah.
position for too long, like sitting here with you for however long we sit here, I might start to get a little, I'm like, ugh. So I've always had ants in my pants. So, but Tai Chi, because you're moving, and Qigong, because you're moving, it's just challenging enough to let you quiet all the clutter, the chatter in your mind. Um, and then once you become familiar with the movement, you can relax and breathe and start letting go of all that tension you're holding in your heart, in your body, in your mind. And so it was a very slow process. But again, from the first class on, it was like, oh, I can let go. And some people, sometimes it can be a little frightening, almost disarming. You're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Now, once I've let go of all that armor, then it gives you a chance to look inside and say, oh, what's going on here? And what am I really dealing with? What am I trying to block out or keep at a distance? And sometimes I've had students in my classes come in and first class off, they have some sort of very visceral or sometimes physical, sometimes emotional reaction to that letting go, letting your guard down and just starting to breathe and relax because it's been so long that they've been bottled up or guarding against something that they're trying to. So again, it's been very illuminating for me. I know after I took a break once. I had to have surgery, and after I returned from surgery and came into a group class of just qigong, some nice slow moving. I decided I would sit down because I was still not quite back on my feet 100%. But I'm like, I'm just going to sit and do some qigong. And that first class back after the surgery, it was amazing just the release that provided me, not only in feeling the energy but it was again an emotional release, the trauma that my body and my mind had been through from the injury and the surgery and the healing that I had started to do. Again, I think I'm a very sensitive person, so I'm very guarded in one way, but also I feel very deeply that energy and that release. So some days I'll be in a class and it just, it just washes over me and it's amazing. It's uplifting and illuminating and energizing, and I love it.
Cool, cool. So I love your descriptions of recovery and how you went to Qigong, you did it seated, but you felt all the same benefits as you did before.
Mhm.
How else have you felt first physically? What are the improvements that you've seen physically? And then maybe talk a little bit about what you've seen mentally in your
Yeah.
timeline in your 8 years.
Wow. I should make a list because
Oh,
there's so
no.
many. Um, and the one
I'm
thing
just
I
handing the
did,
full time slot over to you. I'm
yeah,
just stepping.
okay. The one thing that I did that I would recommend to anyone who's starting out, first of all, it's never too late to start.
Mhm.
And second of all, take note, take an inventory of where you are at this moment in time and journal if you can, if that's something you like to do, or even if you have never done that before, I recommend it. And I tell my students to do this as well. Make a note of where you are at this moment in time on the beginning of your first step on your journey, and continue to just notice, because Tai Chi and Qigong is slow. The benefits are slow. It's not always boom, like an instant thing. But if you pay attention, you'll see that slow, steady improvement. Every once in a while, you get one of those
Mhm.
quantum leaps. You're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe, I did that. I couldn't do that before. But then you'll go along on a very nice slow plateau, and you'll be like, this is cool, I like it. But then you're like, holy crap, I'm so much better. And so for physical things that this has helped me with. Migraine headaches. I've had chronic migraine headaches since I was, you know, this big. Um, it's helped me with joint pain, like all over. I have autoimmune issues. I've never been fully diagnosed. I have autoimmune hypothyroidism, and it's kind of funny. I'll tell you just an anecdotal story about that. When I was up, continually taking medicine for that, and it was progressing a little more each year. And then when I started doing Tai Chi and Qigong, I things were good, but I was like, things are out of whack. And I told my doctor what I was doing, that, I was exercising and doing these exercises, but I don't think it registered with him. They only have 15 minutes to like get you in and figure it out. And so I actually wasn't getting resolution with things were out of whack. So I went to a different doctor. They retested me. And what had happened was, because of I think the Tai Chi, my need for the thyroid was drastically reduced, and I
Really?
was overprescribed, and they hadn't noticed that. And so I've needed like 1/3 now the amount of Synthroid that I used to take for the hypothyroidism. So I always also tell my students, I'm like, let your doctor know as you begin classes and as you move through this, what you're doing, because it has very real effects on your whole body and all of its systems.
Yep.
And you may need to recalibrate medications and all sorts of things. And you'll see that progress, and you may feel yourself going in and out of balance, but it's like this constant, you need to monitor and reassess how you feel. So, I mean, those are very measurable things that this has helped me with. It helps with, again, joint pain. I've had clumsy. I was like a frequent guest at the local emergency room. I'm not kidding you. They knew me by name. They're like, Christine, are you safe at home? I'm like, yeah, I'm safe, but I'm not safe with myself. I would trip up the stairs. I trip down the stairs. I trip over the dog. I'd fall off the curb. I mean, I've been a klutz all my life. I have broken bones. I have stitches in my lip and all over. And so ever since I started Tai Chi, no more visits to the emergency room.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah. And again, measurably speaking, my medical bills the year I started Tai Chi were $40,000.
Jesus. Yeah.
And now I'm at like 1% of that.
Really?
All I do is do my annual visits, the checkups, and they're like, wow, Your numbers are great. I can't believe it. Keep doing what you're doing. So I'm like, okay.
Send me a pamphlet. Let me know your secret.
Yeah, so that's how I got into teaching. I mean, I never again never thought I'd be here doing this teaching and sharing it, but I can't not share this with people. It's too valuable. And it's too hard, at least in this area, to find classes.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of eased into it was the class I was taking. People were asking for evening classes, and the woman who was teaching only wanted to teach during the daytime. So I'm like, okay, I'll start one evening class once a week, just and got certified to teach, and then it just, one thing led to another, and one class became two classes, and then three, and it's like potato chips. You can't stop. So I've had I have about 9 classes a week, depending on how you count them. I do a series of classes with a local hospital, and then also with some corporations, also with the local library. But all of that came to a screeching halt back in March, obviously. But the beauty of that, and again, the silver lining in all this horrible healthcare crisis, is that, I don't know, just again, for whatever the path just presents itself, the universe. It was about a year ago, last May, I saw a webinar from David Dorian Ross about Tai Chi for veterans. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I need to do this. I
Right.
really want to do this. And that's how I got into the Tai Chi Fit. So I was like, okay, sign me up. Where do I go? I want to help. And so I've been working on this whole Tai Chi Fit, Tai Chi for veterans thing for the past year, not realizing that at this moment in time, all those skills I was learning about how to get comfortable online and, deal with all the mechanics that go into that, and how to present Tai Chi in a way that this is such a great format. I've always studied traditional Tai Chi, where you're learning one movement, it has to be perfect. It's always this format in this order. This is the way it is. And I love how less rigid Tai Chi Fit is, so that it's perfect format for this online world that we are living in, and it provides so much to people. And now I can reach people from all over the country and the world. It's amazing. It's it's really really a great opportunity. So I'm glad that things just happened the way they happened, and then I happened to be ready and here and available, and it's all good, right?
The universe provides. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. I think a lot of
Yeah.
us with the Technology family feel the exact way that we were preparing for something, but we didn't know what, and here we are. And
Yeah.
all the dominoes just kind of fell at the same time and landed on our square. So I think you're absolutely right. Man, I gotta have you back, Christine. You could host this all by yourself. I think I'll find a replacement
I'll leave that to you. You're doing a really good job. Are you
Oh,
feeling better?
I am. I am. I've started to feel better. I started to get my energy back and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm hoping.
Good.
We'll see how the. Yeah, I'm feeling good. That's where we're gonna stay. That's where we're gonna stay. Any words of wisdom out there for folks that are on the fence about Tai Chi Fit?
Well, one, if I can do it, anybody can. And number two is don't wait. A lot of people wait. They're like, oh, I'll do that when I'm older or have more time or have more money, or, and don't wait.
No.
It's never too late to start. So don't worry if you feel like, oh, I should have started earlier. We're always making excuses and giving ourselves reasons not to do something. And if it's in your mind and it resonates, it sounds like something, you might investigate it. There's no commitment, right?
Right.
Just see what happens. Dip your toe into a couple of different things. They're all tools. Try whatever is available to you. There's so many ways to experience and learn Tai Chi, or not learn it, and just hang out with us, right? So it's you got to. I tried a couple of different varieties until I settled into what works for me. So just just don't wait. Open yourself up to new experiences. You'll be amazed. It's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today at the Cheecast. You're an absolute great guest. I could just sit back and sip my tea the whole time. Uh, Tell us where we can find you online.
Ah, yes, that's important. TaiChiWellbeing.com is my website. I have a lot of resources on there. I've been adding to it as the weeks progress. So it's TAICHI Wellbeing.com. And I've got my schedule, so your online schedule, including the Tai Chi for Veterans, which is Saturdays at 9, and then I have classes online throughout the week. Doesn't matter if you've had no experience at all or been doing Tai Chi for 20 years. Come and join me and have fun. Also, you can find me on Tai Chi Wellbeing on Instagram, Tai Chi Wellbeing on YouTube. And if you want to find me on Facebook, I'm out there. I'm kind of scarce. Every once in a while, a couple times a week, I'll pop into Facebook. It's my name on Facebook, though, Christine Bay. So if you want to hang out and be friends on Facebook, I'm good with that too. But just don't expect me to like everything you post. I just, it gets, there's just so much internet I can take. So
Or an Instagrammer.
yeah, yeah.
Other,
So trying to
oh,
find that balance.
yeah, yeah, you do. That's one of the reasons you just kind of pick two and just roll with it. Because outside of that, it's too much to manage. And it's funny, like I'll look through my Twitter feed and I see certain folks that manage multiple different venues. I'm like, this must be all you do. And it turns out
Yeah.
that is all they do. So once we unlock that, then we can just be famous for being famous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm into Tai Chi. I'm gonna fame and fortune.
All right, Christine, thank you so much. All the way from Indianapolis. Have a great weekend. Great,
Thank
great
you.
week. And thanks for hanging with me
Take
on the
care. Sending you love and chi.
up and chi. I'm loving it. I'm accepting both and sending it back to you. Good
Take
stuff.
care.
You can join Christine online for her class live Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern Standard or Daylight Saving Eastern Daylight Time, I guess we're in right now, but the East Coast time, New York time, Philly time, my time. And check her out Saturday morning. It's a great way to kick off your weekend. Great way to, and I've again taken classes with Christine, and they are good classes. They are fantastic. She is, again, one of our top instructors in the program, and to be able to flow with her and the good vibes and energy that she is able to build and swell and the space that she creates, it's like you're there with her. And that is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So if you have a chance, go to taichifit.net. You can find the link to her class on the schedule. And the link is just look for the Tai Chi or the TC4V experience or online experience. Click on that link, 9 a.m. Saturday mornings, and you'll pop right into her class. Now, if you get there before her, it'll ask you to wait. But here's the thing, since we're all using Zoom now, we all know how this works, right? So, yeah, what else are you doing on a Saturday morning? Seriously, you can mow the lawn, get up an hour earlier, mow the lawn then, and do some tai chi and stretch out your legs and open up your life, quite frankly. Yeah, your whole life. One of the things that I used to have tremendous back pain, and when I honestly when I turned, how old was I? I want to say this is about 2011, 2012. So I was just starting my journey through Tai Chi. So essentially, and you have to understand when you're trying to get in shape or you're trying to get back in shape or you're trying to um, find your Zen, find your center, you have to realize that at first you're simply reversing the tide, right? And that tide has been going for a long time and it has a lot of momentum behind it. And so when you start out on your journey, it can feel like you're going nowhere. And in fact, a lot of times it can feel like you're going backwards because the momentum of the direction that you were going in is still pushing you, still pushing you. But as you start to change, as you start to move, it's almost like digging a tributary out of a river to redirect yourself back to a better part of the river. That's what you're, but that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort, and there's a lot of water that's still coming in and it's undoing what you're doing and yada, yada, yada. But along the way, you get better tools. Along the way, you get stronger. Along the way, you start to change slowly but surely until that trench is dug, and then you're strong enough to actually go back out on to the river in a new way and manage the river of life just a little bit better, just a little bit better, right? If not an insane amount better. When Christine talks about, 10 years ago, I never knew where I was going to be. I absolutely did not think I was going to be talking to you 10 years ago. I remember where I was at 10 years ago, and it was not the best of places. That's one of the reasons there is so much excitement around the Tai Chi for Veterans program. So if you know a vet, if you are a vet, if you're a spouse, a child, a dependent, a caretaker, or listen, you just want to get into some Tai Chi. You don't even have to be veteran affiliated. You're just ready. You're ready to change your life. You're ready to, but not all at once. That's the thing. I didn't change my life all at once when I stepped into Tai Chi. I just kept doing it. It was just the thing that I did. And over time, that changed, and I added new tools as I moved along. The first big thing that I recognized was my back. I was wrapping Christmas gifts. I want to say probably Christmas either 2011 or 2012, going full circle. And I could only wrap like one gift at a time. I'm on the floor, I'm doing it. My back was just killing me the entire night. And then,
Marcus,
then we have the invasion from the Big Apple.
yeah, I got my Brooklyn Bridge t-shirt on.
There he is. There he is. Good old Toby Cassavin from the Big Apple from New York City. How are you, brother?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Just down the road from you here, as it is humid up there as it is an hour down 95.
It is. And it's going to start raining soon, I think, and keep raining during the rest of the day.
Well, at least that'll cut the humidity, because
yeah,
I had to turn the AC on during class. It was awful.
Right. I don't function well in humidity, and it's probably wrong that I'm living on the East Coast because of that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think you might be in the wrong place for that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Although I had friends that used to come up here in August from New Orleans to get away from the heat and humidity.
Well, the bayou is a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was like, wow.
Yeah, whenever the Northeast is your getaway from humidity, you should question your life decisions, actually. So, speaking of life decisions, tell us a little bit about your Tai Chi background there.
Okay. I started internal martial arts when I was very, very young, 11 years old, doing Aikido, which has a lot in common with Tai Chi. And then I was always interested in Tai Chi. I had a friend when I first went to college. I'm old, so in when I went to college, I had a friend who had been a student of William Chen in New York, who showed me William Chen's form.
Yeah.
And I actually did Tai Chi for a year back then, the long Yang style long form, and didn't make it through it. Kept doing Aikido, moved to New York, kept doing Aikido, made a couple of stabs at Tai Chi at different times. And then about, I guess, 15, 18 years ago, I went to William Chen School and learned his form. And I have to admit that I was not a very good student in the sense that I didn't attend class very often, but I did practice and learned his form and took a couple of dozen applications classes, which were mostly how to punch and hitting a heavy bag. And I loved it. Particularly his form is so gentle that you wouldn't think it's such a martial form, because for people that don't know it, he's the the most well-known avatar of Tai Chi for fighting in America. You know, his total orientation is as a martial art, but his form is really, really gentle, really, really small, hardly any movement. You know, none of this.
Right.
And I loved it. And he was a wonderful teacher. And then, so then his schedule didn't work for me so much. So I stopped going to class, but I kept practicing daily for another 5 years. And then about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago now, I got a freak virus, just a staph infection that got into my spinal column. I went almost paraplegic. My left arm was completely dead meat. My right leg was going. They had to go into my neck and go into the spinal column and wash it out with antibiotic, replace a couple of discs with titanium discs. Anyway, the nerves weren't dead. I was very lucky. Yeah. So the nerves weren't dead, and I've made a pretty much complete recovery. And Tai Chi was so important in the recovery, I wanted to share that. But I want to tell this story. I started Wu style Tai Chi because at that point I could only lift this arm about that high. And I saw a picture of the Wu style golden rooster stands on one leg where they had the arm up here. And I was like totally aspirational. I want to do that.
Ah, there you go.
And then, so I called up that school and I looked them up and I found out that their schedule was a little better. They had more days a week that I could go and it was a little bit closer. And so I started Northern Wu style, which I really love. And I'm still practicing and occasionally still studying with my teachers.
Sure.
And because of my thing with my neck, I really had to give up on thinking about fighting.
Right.
Because I stopped Aikido because the rolling was too dangerous if you had a bad fall. And the same thing would be true with getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I'd say.
Shot to the neck. Yeah. And you can't study fighting without getting punched, repeatedly. So my focus became on health and and also the mental calmness that comes with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm completely in love with Tai Chi, and that's my background.
I've
been doing it mostly for about 20 years. I know a Yang style short form and a Wu style long form and a Wu style saber form.
Well, that's good stuff. So I think that's interesting because as a practitioner, I often forget, because we're over here in the United States and in the West, and we do what we do over here and have a good time. And I forget that there are these major differences between Northern and Southern styles. And the Northern styles tend to be these very big, elaborate styles.
Yeah. But although the Wu style that I studied is a Northern style.
Right.
Exactly.
I think of Wu, I don't think of a big, when I think big elaborate Tai Chi, I think Chen style.
Oh, no, that's true. That's true. No, Wu style is a small style. It's just that one move you happen to stick your arm up in there. It's they call it a small frame style, but I would call it a medium frame style.
Okay.
It's not as small as, on the other hand, Yang style is considered a big style.
Yeah.
Movement.
Yeah.
William Chen's style version of it is very small and minimalist.
Yeah.
So I think that these categories have some truth in them, but they're not, just within Yang style, there's 20 different styles.
Oh, sure. The lines are super blurred. There's a lot of marriages of ideas. But I think that's what you need for the evolution of the art to go forward.
And I think teachers, one of the best statements I ever heard, we're getting maybe too deep into martial arts here, but one of the best statements I ever heard was that if the student at the end of the road isn't better than the teacher, then the art deteriorates.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. I mean, you have to look at it. When you started teaching, you started looking for the next you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying. I'm 67 now, and I'm still. Look, I'm never going to do high kicks.
Right.
I'm imitating with my arm a high kick. But, but I can get them up to, waist level.
Sure.
And that's fine. And if it keeps getting, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on kicks for myself because the legs are the first to go as you age.
Yep.
So if you're getting better with your kicks and your legs are getting stronger and more flexible, I figure I'm getting younger.
Absolutely. So you point out a really important part of aging. What happens to the legs is atrophied. And as the muscles atrophied, the nerves atrophied, and then they can't fire to revitalize those muscles anymore. And so Tai Chi, every day is leg day in Tai Chi. With that, you actually prolong the youthfulness of your body by keeping your legs super strong.
Not only that, but by focusing, even forgetting kicks, focusing on the stepping and thinking about the feeling, because Tai Chi is mostly about, for everybody watching, Tai Chi is mostly about sensing.
Yep.
And sensing your own body, sensing the other person's body. But in terms of sensing your own body, when you're trying to think about feeling the bottom of your feet as you're walking, which is not something we normally do in everyday life, you're actually creating new connections between the brain and the feet. And as we age, those connections deteriorate, but this is a way of creating new ones because there's they used to think that the brain didn't develop new ones after you were an adult. Right. But now they've discovered that the brain has what they call plasticity all the way until you die. Yep. So you can actually develop new connections between your brain and your feet that can help you for fall prevention and just in general.
Yep. Yeah, yep. Your brain is a muscle. Work it, and it'll last a long time. And Tai Chi is like learning a language with each individual piece of the body being a letter, each move a word, and then you make sentences and books out of the form. So
that's right. And you have to be patient with it the same way when you're learning a language.
Yep.
Like you're not going to be perfect when you do it. You just have, like, if you go to a foreign country and you know just a little bit of the language, okay, you're destroying the grammar. You're mispronouncing everything, but people are understanding you and you can talk to them.
Yes. Yes.
And it gets better over time. However it gets, one of the best statements I've ever heard was by one of my current teachers, Frank Allen and Tina Zhang. I'll give them a shout out here from the Wu-Tang Physical Culture Association in New York. It's a Taoist statement, which says, there are no perfect people.
Right.
And you're not perfect either. And all you can do is try to be as good as you can be at that moment.
Yep.
You can't compare yourself to how you were yesterday because maybe your biorhythms are off today and you're not as good as yesterday, let alone compare yourself to other people.
Right.
So if you're fully concentrated and committed to doing the best you can at any one moment, well, that's as good as it gets.
Yep.
And we have to try to be content with that.
Yeah, that is that's finding contentment in the moment. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm just going to step back. I could give this chair up to anybody in our group, and I'm going to give it to you because why shouldn't it go to New York? Have a good day. So speaking of New York and speaking of the landscape that's there, you are also a musician.
I am, indeed.
Right? So talk to me a little bit about how your Tai Chi influences your music.
Absolutely.
Is your Tai Chi.
Especially as I was learning internal martial arts, because I consider there to be a continuum with Aikido and Tai Chi, actually. And many people in Aikido told me, oh, you play just like you do Aikido. Because it's all about coordinating full body movement. Yeah. Even though when you're playing, I'm a pianist, for those who know, you're completely into it. This hand has to go up here and hit these notes. Well, this hand is going down here. This is farther on this side than you're moving on that side, and yet they both have to arrive at the same time. Things like that. Also, just immersing yourself in it so that you're not thinking outside thoughts and that you're not analyzing yourself while you're doing it is very important. But that thing of coordinating different body parts is very similar to me to, for instance, brush knee, where the hand that's coming out is moving farther than the hand that's brushing, but they both have to hit their endpoints at the same time, which means the bottom one has to go slower than the top one.
Sure.
And coordinate that with the going forward. And so for me, that's very similar. But most of all, it's the immersing yourself into and the experiential aspect to it. Because as soon as you start thinking in words about what you're doing, you're losing part of your concentration on the actual activity.
Right.
And you're thinking about something else. And that makes the activity less full.
Sure.
I don't know if that's very articulate, but that's
no, I think you're dead on with that. Because when you're on the piano, if you happen to hit a key or hit the wrong note, you can't suddenly stop. Like the music just continues on. You have to let that mistake go.
That's right, because there's always going to be mistakes. And actually, as any musician knows, during any performance, you're making up hundreds of mistakes. Sure. They may not be visible to the audience because it may be just that you wanted to hit this lighter than you hit it. They don't know that.
Right.
But if you start thinking about it as it moves on, all of a sudden you're not with yourself.
Yep.
You know, you're into the next part of the music, but you're still thinking about what you did wrong over there. Mm-hmm. And Tai Chi is the same way. You can't, as you do, if you know a form through and you're doing it, you're always going to make lots of little mistakes. Your knee's not over your toe, so you're constantly correcting it in real time, but mostly enjoying you don't make it better by dwelling on that in the midst of the form. You can go back and practice for details. Actually, one of the rules in Wu style, because Wu style is the most detailed of all the Tai Chi styles. Mm-hmm. It's got so much detail. So they tell you there's 3 things to practice for, and that until you've done it for years, you only practice for one of them. So one of them is flow, flowing smoothly from one move to another. But another one would be doing the moves right. Yeah. And if you're worried about doing the moves right, you're going to stop here and there to check yourself. So that breaks the flow. And if you're doing the flow, you might do things wrong. So what? And then the other one in Wu style is they have the idea of expansion and compression on every move. In Yang style, sometimes they talk about filling and emptying. William Chen used to talk about that. And I thought of a little demonstration on expanding and compressing here. If you put your hand flat on something, it's not mysterious. This expanding and compressing is not some kind of mysterious, mystical thing that, is like only great masters can do. If you put your hand on and you relax it, and my hand is flat, you can extend your fingers a little bit. And if you relax it, it comes back. Now, I'm not bringing my hand up or anything like that. That's expanding, that's compressing. So when you're doing the moves, you expand into the end of the move, and then you let the expansion go as you melt into the next move. And that happens in every move. Yeah. Again, different people call it different things. I've never heard, I think Wu style is the only one that talks about expanding and compressing. Yeah. But in Yang style, they talk about emptying and filling, or at least William Chen used to talk about that a lot. And I think it's part of the same thing.
Yeah, and that balancing of, like, the way I learned the same thing is the idea of extreme yin, extreme yang, and medium use.
Yes.
On both. And,
exactly.
So yeah, that's awesome. I could sit here and nerd out with you all day about
I know.
Ooh, believe me. On that.
But let's bring it back to health for a minute, because a lot of the people that are watching this stuff and involved with Tai Chi Fit are really oriented toward health. So this expansion and compression, all the internal things have a lot to do with health. When you expand, the synovial fluid, which is spelled SYN, for anybody who wants to look it up, it's not a Tai Chi term, it's a Western medical term. The synovial fluid between the joints, which is every joint in the body, renews itself when you expand. I mean, this is particularly important for all of us, which is almost everybody, who spends time sitting at desks or driving in cars. Yeah. Because your lower vertebra get crunched and crunched and crunched. So the expanding of that allows that to renew itself and heal itself.
Right.
There's a few other things they talk about in Wu style, but I think that's the most important one in terms of health.
So I like your explanation of that. I really do. One of the things that, you know, Tai Chi Fit tries to step away from is kind of the woo-woo aspects of things and put actual science behind a lot of the terminology. And when you go into classical Tai Chi and they talk about opening your meridians and building the channels, that's what they're talking about. Opening up those joints, expanding them to allow things to breathe, to not kink up your nerves and kink up your circulatory system. So talk a little bit about that, the traditional ideas of Tai Chi and how they apply to our understanding.
Well, this is where not that I'm an expert in this. I know what my teachers have taught me, but this is why I like the interesting thing in Wu style is that they don't talk about Qi much.
Right.
They talk about you pumping the four of the liquid systems in the body. They say that moving around, doing the form, pumps the blood. Expanding and compressing of the skeleton or the joints pumps the synovial fluid. Yeah. Opening, as we do, I'm going to stand up, we kind of open up and close, and in our hip joints too, you kind of open and close. That pumps the lymphatic fluid because that's where the lymph nodes are. Yeah. And the other thing is that happens in Tai Chi is you round the upper back and then straighten it into moves, right? We've all seen that. That pumps the spinal fluid up into the brain. Ooh. So that those four hydraulic systems, which are evolved for throwing punches, they didn't evolve for health. But it turns out they've got really dramatic health impacts over time.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
We should talk about that too. That for people that are interested in doing Tai Chi for health, it's about steady practice over time. The 70% rule. Nothing happens fast. So I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to touch on practicing at home is fun because Tai Chi feels really good. Yeah. When you start getting into it, it's almost a feeling of flying. Yep. Woo, and it comes back, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling in the body, and becomes like almost like a safe space that you can go in and just relax.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. That when you hit that right moment where your body just hits it, you feel like you're 2 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely do.
Yeah, which is why I would imagine that it's good for anxiety and PTSD and things like that.
Absolutely.
Because then you feel safe.
Absolutely. You become your own security blanket. You're absolutely right about that. Absolutely right. My goodness. You know, my teacher told me on my last promotion or whatever, he said, I'm very proud of you. You move like water.
Right.
I don't need you to move like air.
Even less.
Like, oh, wait a second. But I got what he meant. And ultimately, you want to move as if you're nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, what does that mean? Play with it a little bit. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an endless, the other thing is that people should know, again, it's like learning a musical instrument or learning a language. There's no end point. You know, because you can always be better. I mean, most of us will never practice enough to be great world masters. Sure. That doesn't matter. What matters is continual progress. And I find it reassuring that I'll never master it, so I'll never run out of it. You're never done. You know, it's not like I'll run out of it and can. Oh, well, now what?
Yeah. Oh, yep. You're absolutely right about it. But don't let that be the intimidating factor, right?
No. Yeah, exactly.
Just enjoy the
exactly
scene.
because it doesn't. We don't really. you know, it depends on what your goals are.
Yeah.
If your goals are to enjoy yourself and explore this new art and get better at it as you go along, that's great. I mean, you know, if your goal is to go out and be the most effective fighter in the world, there's no such thing, first of all. There's only thing that in some particular situation. And also, these arts evolved when that was important in society.
Yeah.
You know, once wars started being fought with guns,
Yeah.
the value of martial arts as a important societal tool went way down.
Sure.
But so now it's about personal development, really.
Absolutely. So
I mean, you were in the military. I've never been in the military, but you know, martial arts are important for attitude, but they don't have much meaning in.
yeah, there's
Most
an underlying
situations.
thread. There's an underlying thread. Like you will learn hand-to-hand combat, and there's a lot of martial art-esque type of moves you'll learn.
Right?
Ultimately, if it comes down to hand-to-hand combat, something has gone incredibly wrong.
Exactly. This was even true unarmed combat. This was even true when people were using swords and spears.
Sure.
I mean, unarmed techniques were like a Hail Mary of last resort. I mean, if you lost your weapon, you know, if you didn't acquire another one from somebody in the next 5 seconds, you were probably over.
Right. Yeah, if you like the ancient armies and the way they would have sort of their primary weapon, their secondary weapon, the backup to the secondary.
I've done being a total nerd about this. I watch stuff about this all the time and study it. I mean, swords, for instance, swords were never used on the battlefield much.
Right.
Swords are a personal sidearm.
Yep.
On the battlefield, people used big, long, heavy spears and different kinds of things. And if swords were used, they were generally used with shields.
Yep.
Because otherwise your arm is vulnerable.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've watched a lot of stuff having to do with HEMA, which is historical European martial arts that people have been recreating.
Ah, fun.
Which is also interesting.
Yeah. Well, the French have a really, I forget what the name is, but the French have a really cool martial art, and I can't remember.
Oh, you mean Savate?
Savate, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. It's funny. I watch those kind of videos on YouTube. My wife is like, I'd want to watch an old movie. I don't want to watch this stuff about swords.
So talk to me a little bit about your participation with the Tai Chi for Veterans program, with Tai Chi Fit, and all the adventures that's gotten you in.
I will. I had heard about David Dorian Ross. Even before I knew about this, I ran into a video on YouTube where he was talking to teachers about don't correct people.
Yeah.
And he pointed out that many people come to a Tai Chi class, but then when the teacher corrects them, they feel like they're being disrespected.
Yeah.
Because most people have not done anything as a new beginner since they were kids. Yeah. So when somebody teaches them, corrects them, they feel like they're being treated like a child. Yeah. And that really struck a note with me because I've noticed this in classes. The glaring exceptions are either dancers, musicians, or people from other martial arts. But for regular people, because people that do that stuff, they want to get it right the first time because they don't want to practice it wrong.
Right.
Which is also impossible.
Sure.
You have to get it wrong in order to get it right. But anyway, that really attracted me to David. And then I saw that he had posted on Facebook that they were looking for teachers for his new program, Tai Chi for Veterans. And I looked into it and thought it was really that he had come up with an answer to this idea of why do most people quit Tai Chi and don't get because they don't practice it enough to get the benefits or even to start really feeling that great feeling that flying. Yes. How do you get them to experience that feeling? And so and also, frankly, the idea that the VA was going to approve this and start paying for it, and that it might be a viable way to make a living, was very attractive. Because I after my illness, I really wanted to turn teaching Tai Chi into a profession because it helps people, and I love doing it so much. And so that prompted me to join the program and go through the training. And I'm now running 3 classes in the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings online that are flow classes. I'm also running 2 traditional classes, but they're turning into like half of it is flow now.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it works and people like it. And doing, in the Tai Chi Fit, you're using mostly Yang and a little bit of Chen style.
Sure.
But so I just do with the Wu classes, I just do the same thing using the Wu moves.
Sure.
Do the guard, do brush knee, pack to the guard, and put on music while you're doing it.
Absolutely. And you're just starting a new like official Tai Chi Fit class here.
Yeah, I'm new.
That is on, was it Tuesdays, Mondays?
It's up to you. You haven't told me yet.
Have I? I thought
Either Monday or Tuesday. I told you I was open for Monday or Tuesday at noon.
I think you're Tuesday at noon.
Okay, good. That'll fit just right.
That didn't go as smooth as I wanted it to.
I know you're overwhelmed with how many people you have to communicate with every day.
It's one of those things, you change it, you send it, and you hope for the best. It's been a tight sheet. Let it go into the world and hope it comes back. That's awesome. That really is awesome.
And also, I agree with the idea that the feeling of flow is probably the most important thing we can impart to beginners, especially, because that allows you to love it.
I remember the first time as a beginner that I experienced flow, and I kind of got boosted out of the beginner's class and went into the intermediate class, and we were no longer breaking down moves and then sort of pseudo putting them together at the end. We were actually just moving.
Right.
And the first time I experienced that, I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love with Tai Chi. So if I would have felt that earlier, I probably would have jumped in head first a lot sooner than I did, because of that. So you're absolutely right about that. So I think what everybody wants to know at this point is, where can they find you? Where are your classes?
Better Balance NY.
All right.
My website is betterbalanceny.com. You can email me at betterbalanceny@gmail. So that's not spelled out in New York, at Better Balance letters NY.
There you go.
And that's the best way. I'm also on Twitter at Better Balance NY, and on Facebook, Better Balance NY. So I would love to hear from people by email. And of course, I'm giving these classes that are open to anybody.
Be careful what you wish for on that email thing. Be careful what you wish for about that email thing.
Oh, well, I shall only have such problems. I've got to open. I give out my phone number without thinking about it too.
That is true. I still make that mistake.
Yeah, but you don't answer.
That's true. That's also true. You learned that one as well.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, betterbalanceny.com. Find Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. I guess you throw that in the Google and
Better Balance NY, and you'll find whatever you find, but you'll find me.
You'll find Toby. He'll be right there at the top, hopefully, especially after this.
Yeah.
Toby, I want to thank you so much for hanging out. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. I got to get up there to New York, hang out, break some bread with you. Once this quarantine has lifted.
Yeah. You were talking about that there was a couple of people we need to meet and stuff.
Yes. But yeah, I would just love to go up, break bread, maybe hit the Prospect Park with you and do a little Tai Chi.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. I go there. I'm only like an 8-minute walk from there.
Really? All right, that's in.
So
I mean, you guys are having some issues up there, so I'm not gonna jump on the next train.
Well, I mean, the whole East Coast here is, but things are. It's going in the right. At least in New York, it's going in the right direction. Down.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens given what just happened over the weekend. Everybody hit the shore.
Yeah.
We're all back.
That's right.
So
2 weeks from now.
I'm looking at the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, there's going to be all kind of spikes.
Yeah.
Let's
Or
not go
maybe
there because then we're going to end up talking politics in a minute.
yeah, let's not do that. Not on this one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because we're definitely going to have you back, Toby. I want to get you your own segment, start to finish. Just co-host with
Oh,
me, and we'll
fantastic.
chat. That's what we want
I
to
have a
do.
lot of things to say about Tai Chi and brain development.
Sure. Oh, we definitely got to have you back there. We'll book you for a couple of episodes out and get you
Okay,
in on the
cool.
Chica.
I mean, again, not that I'm a doctor or a medic, but I've been fascinated by it and reading a lot about it,
Sure.
and both traditional stuff and Western medical stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk that with you. I enjoy more than anything finding the scientific connections to the spiritual and physiological changes that happen in the art
Yeah,
and merging those two together. I'm absolutely a fan of that. It's not magic, it's physics and physiology at the end of the day.
fantastic.
And
So
yeah.
as I'm available.
There's a couple of things that I've experienced that I don't have answers for, and neither does science, and I just let them be in the magic category. But outside of that,
Yeah.
everything is what it is. Toby, thank you so much for joining us on the Cheatcast. I want to wish you a great weekend.
Thank you.
Frank. All right.
I'm happy to see you feeling good because I can tell you are feeling good.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling a lot better. I'm getting my strength back, getting my energy back. So
Good.
yeah.
It wasn't the demon virus.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think I just caught a weird bug, or maybe it was, and I got off easy. We'll find out.
Yeah. One or the other.
I'm going to be coming into contact with people that were positive for it here shortly. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Now remember, on those antibody tests, there's a lot of false negatives.
Yeah.
We're convinced that my wife and I had it.
Sure.
Particularly her. She had all the symptoms: cold toes, cough. She had the antibody test, came back negative.
Oh.
We have a friend who's an emergency room nurse specializing in infectious disease who said there's often 3 or 4 negatives before a positive.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
I've seen that happen.
That means is we don't know.
Yeah.
We have to live with uncertainty.
It's Schrodinger's pandemic is what it is.
Okay.
All right, brother. Be good up there in the Big Apple.
Thank you. And everybody who's been watching, thank you for watching.
Absolutely. All right. That was Toby Cassavan out there in NYC at betterbalanceny.com. Find him on Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias. Just throw him into Google. He'll pop up right there in your dining room table.
Or email me at betterbalanceny@gmail.com.
There you go. Yes, email him. Email him until you get a reply. Email box full. So
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, swamp me. I'd love it.
Undeliverable. All right. Well, that takes us to the end of our Cheatcast. I want to wish everybody a happy weekend here post Memorial Day. Be safe out there. Stay home. Take care. And until I see you again, I wish you health, happiness, and harmony.